Okay, welcome to Becoming a Coaching Educator webinar. I have just set it to record, so just want to mention that after this webinar, there will be a follow-up email and you will be provided with the recording. And we will also be providing you with a Becoming a Coaching Educator guide that we're just putting a few finishing touches on it. And so that will be sent to you as well. And welcome. I see we have a number of people here. And I'm intending to, I'll just flip my slide to the next screen, and I hope that people can hear me okay. And I have my wonderful administrative manager here on the call with me today, Sandra Mall, and she will be telling me if she can hear me, first of all. Want to make sure that my voice is, oh, good. Excellent. That's great. The other thing is that she will be managing, because I absolutely welcome your questions. And in fact, depending on your willingness, I may make some of you presenters, because it's always great to have you interacting as well in this particular webinar, because I'm noticing on this webinar, I am noticing, and I'm literally just flipping through, looking real fast, but I think we have a couple of coaching educators, aside from myself, on the webinar. So actually, I'm gonna ask them permission out loud. There's two of them that I'm seeing, Carol, and I'm also seeing Mark. And if you're willing, would you be willing to be not upgraded, it sounds like we're in a airplane, but a presenter, because that means I can call on you for some of your comments as well. I just saw that on the list. So if you're willing, I'm just going to business class would be awesome. Okay, so I think, Sandra, can you upgrade them? Put Mark as a presenter as well, and if there's anyone else that says they'd be interested, that's fine too. And it's not that you're expected to present, it's that you may participate in some of our some of the questions that come up and so on, and I highly welcome that. And so it looks like okay, I need to do it. So just bear with me here for a second, because I'm going to take, I think it was Carol. I saw your name come up, and Mark, just hang on a second. There we go. Perfect. And they had no idea I was going to do this. So there we go. I think I've got everybody. Great, thank you, thank you. So I'm going to introduce myself, and actually I'm going to let Carol and Mark say just a tiny bit about them themselves as well. Do you see how we just play in the moment? This is coaching. This is what happens when you become a coaching educator. So we're going to explore a few different paths, and I noticed we've never done this class before, and so it's an experiment for us, but it was an area that I really felt was not particularly talked about very much. It's kind of off in the background and so on and so forth. So but here's my a little bit about me, and why I'm showing this is, you know, it's about whenever I present or whenever I'm standing up in front of people, it's always about what gives me the right to be standing up in front. And something I always like to ask too is I'm hoping that I have permission to make mistakes, because that is absolutely possible here today. You can see that I got into coaching. I really drank the coaching Kool-Aid, to be frank, back in 1996 when I found out about it, and it was a dream. It was an absolute dream in my life to find coaching. And I've pursued it I've been in it, as you can tell, for actually coming on almost 21 years. And in that time, unbeknownst to me, it was never in my plan at all. I sort of became a coaching educator. And it was, as I said, not planned. And as I was doing that, and it's not mentioned here, but I was in another organization. There was very few back then that existed that were educating people on coaching. And the organization I got involved with at that time, it was called Coach U, and all their classes were via teleclasses. That's what existed then. Anyway, very quickly, coaching took off, and there were people coming in from all over the place taking coach training. And so very, very quickly, I became a coaching educator there and started to develop my skills, as well as be an executive coach. And then what happened as it grew, universities wanted to get involved, and I got involved in 2 universities, which you can see there. And during all this time, I developed my own coaching business, and I had clients from all over the world, which was another big surprise. I never expected that. But in all that time, I really realized, and you saw if you came in at all ahead of the class starting, I saw, and I just knew that everybody needs to learn these skills, and not everybody needs to become a coaching a credentialed coach. But what if everybody had these skills in their leadership, in their lives, and in any kind of work that they do? And that's when I created Coaching Out of the Box. And you can read the rest. And we're here today, and I wanted to just give Mark just a couple of moments. Mark is a fabulous coaching educator. And so Mark, would you just be willing to unmute yourself for a moment and say hello, and just say a tiny, not that there's lots that you could say, but just a tiny bit about yourself.
Well, thanks, Allison. I'm really thrilled to be here because it's such a great exploration. Myself, as a coach educator, I'm currently an associate faculty at Royal Roads, and have gone through the credentialing process with ICF and a PCC coach myself. And my background is in education, so it just feels right to share a coach approach with whoever I enter conversations with. And it's just evolved to the point where the opportunities are there to share a coach approach and share coach conversations in the power they have. So I'll leave it at that, Allison.
Okay. Great. And as we move through it, I'll check in if there's anything you want to add, and I'm going to now have Carol introduce herself. Carol, thank you for being willing to be a panelist at the spur of the moment. And Carol is also a fabulous coach and a coaching educator. So go ahead, Carol.
Oh, hi, Allison.
Hi.
This is a surprise, so this is great. I appreciate a moment. I'm actually a former healthcare professional, so that's my background. And I am a certified executive coach and a professional PCC ICF credentialed. And coaching for me is such an important skill. And in healthcare and in leadership, I just have found over and over coaching skills add so much to leadership capabilities. I have enjoyed teaching as a trainer within Coaching Out of the Box as some coaching skills, and I'm currently doing mentor coaching training through Royal Roads in their advanced course, and loving it. And just as you said, Allison, who would know? I never thought I would be doing one, mentor coaching, which is a new experience, and secondly, deepening my coaching knowledge and skills around helping other coaches to be better coaches. Lovely pathway. Love it, love it, love it.
Ah, great. Well, thank you. And thanks for being willing to share. And again, I'll be checking in as well, aside from checking in for questions. But if there's anything in addition you think of, because like I said, this is the first time I'm doing this. And so I'm trying to think of what are all the pieces, and anything that I miss, or we possibly miss, remember you're going to get a guide afterwards, and absolutely, and you'll see one of the slides at the end that you can certainly reach out to us, and I'm happy. I love speaking to people about coaching and becoming coaching educators. So happy to chat. So, oops, here we go. So this is our objectives, or this is what I came up with. What is a coaching educator? Defining a little bit about some of the different pathways, talking about the demand. I think that's important to kind of hear more about that, and Q&A. Now, how I'm going to do that is I'm going to be checking for questions, and checking from time to time if there's any questions that Sandra's queuing up, and Sandra also might need to remind me or jump in, and so off we go. So, and I'm praying, good. All right, so the first thing, and you probably kind of picked it up a bit when Mark was introducing himself, and also Carol and myself, is that people who come to coaching, you know, they want to make a difference. They love to help people, and they love to support people in their lives and in their careers. I certainly know for me, that was what really grabbed me when I found out about coaching. And I had been an entrepreneur, but I'd also been a leader in the corporate environment with a national company, and I was in sales and sales management. And what I found at that time was I had lineups of people waiting outside my office to come and talk to me about their issues and challenges. And honestly, that was the favorite thing I did all day, was that. And but I also recognized in my whole entire life that I really had a passion for people, and for supporting people in solving some of their challenges and their issues and their problems. I thought maybe I was going to be a counselor, or I thought maybe I was going to be a psychologist or something like that. But this has been such a powerful fit. And I'm curious, and this could be noticed in the chat area that I am looking to see. Yes, what I'm wondering is that, and this is a question that you can answer or think about later. What is your reason? You're on this webinar, and you're coming to find out more either about coaching or becoming a coaching educator. What is your reason? Think about that. What's behind you wanting to take the time to find out more about this, and to find out, find out perhaps more about coaching as well. So I'm seeing, similar to what I said, helping others reach their untapped. Oh, I love that one. Nathan. Hi, Nathan. I recognize some of the names. Great. Yeah, it is truly, it's life-changing. It's what keeps me in it, is that. So, but just as you're going through this, for some of you, you might be at different places, is coaching education combines two areas of passion. Anyway, just thinking about this, what is your reason? Okay, and so what in the heck is a coaching educator? And I'm going to tell you something. I didn't even know that term. That term was, I was calling myself a coach, or I was calling myself a trainer or a teacher, and those words can all be just fine. They can absolutely just fine. But years ago, I was visiting with some people, and the fellow there said, "You know what you are? You're a coaching educator." And I went, bingo. Is that ever the name for this when I'm supporting people in learning coaching skills? That's different from when I'm kind of different than from when I'm actually coaching one-on-one. It's a little bit different. So what I've got here is I've got a bit of a list, and I welcome other comments and questions about this. And I'm also just noticing, all right, it doesn't matter. So these are some things. And by the way, this is my opinion. So in my opinion, to be a good coaching educator, you need to have completed what I call approved coach specific training. And that's because I feel that it's so important to have that grounding in coaching before you start teaching other people how to coach or teaching other people skills. I know that there's naturals at this. I know that there are people out there that are just, you know, they're just kind of doing it themselves with their own thoughts. And I'm not saying that that isn't great or can't be great, but I really feel going forward, this is going to be very important, that you've got specific coach specific training, and you can, and that's a whole other conversation, but I'm just going to say that right now. I love the chats and the comments that are happening as well. Thank you. I see Janice has made a comment, Keith as well, and so on. So that's fantastic. I also feel that it's very important that they have been assessed, that the coaching that a coaching educator, to become a coaching educator, that your coaching has been assessed by a qualified assessor. And that's a whole other topic as well. But for example, a number of coaches, and you heard Carol mention it, are mentor coaching. I know Mark has, etc. And to make sure that if you're going to get into this, have someone who's qualified. And in my opinion, it's somebody who's got some credentials. It's someone who's had coach-specific training. And have them give you feedback on your coaching and have them tell you where you're at. I feel that that is extremely important in order for you to be able to either stand up in front of a live room or a virtual classroom and begin to teach others coaching. The other piece is, and you can see this, is they're committed to their growth as a coach. In other words, that's another reason why I love being a coach and a coaching educator in my case, is because it forces me all the time to because basically you're a model when you're a coaching educator, and it forces me all the time to be really looking at some of the issues and challenges that I have in my own life and in my own way of being and so on. And I know Mark, having worked with me, and Carol maybe to a lesser extent, they know they know that exists, right? And so I think that's really critical. I also think that you need to be passionate about it. In other words, why are you doing this? What is this? Why are you doing this? What is it that you love about it? And really focus on that. Here's another one. I see some more comments, and I'm curious. I've got more things. Well, I'll check in with Mark and Carol in a minute, actually. You need to be comfortable in front of the room. Or, in my case, when I first started doing this, I was not. So I'll be honest. I was very, very nervous. And I was committed to becoming comfortable and going out there anyway, and not being sure and not being clear and not knowing if I was any good, etc., etc. But I developed that more and more as I went on. And actually, I will be honest and say that usually there's moments still to this day that I will still feel a little anxious or a little uncomfortable or a little unsure of myself. But anyway, that's I think everyone. And that you are committed to developing as a great facilitator. In other words, when you're up in front of a group of people, whether it's live or virtual, that you're committed to developing your skills as a great facilitator. And in my case, that you're comfortable in delivering virtual learning, meaning via online learning platforms, because that is growing. That is growing more. So I think it's really helpful to have those skills and committed to learning more about how to do that. The other thing that I have found is that what to me defines a coaching educator is that they love variety in the work they do. That is something I've noticed. Now, I'm curious to know from Mark and Carol, what else? What else? What have I missed? Anything? Carol? Yes, go ahead.
Allison, I don't think it's missing, but it seems as a compliment. And for me, it's the passion about coaching, but the passion about having others excel in new skills that actually open doors even for others. So when they excel, and when you've given them tangible skills, they actually can open doors for those who they work with. And when you see that occurring, it just is so exciting. And it's seeing them shine in their own abilities with some supports and some new resources that you're providing. So a long way around to say that that also is what drives, I think, for me, the wish and the desire to teach or support others to even do these skills or provide these skills.
Oh, so well said. So you're igniting others, and you're and that to me is so powerful. And I'm curious, when you're coaching, educating, might not be saying that quite right. When you're doing that, how often are you seeing that?
I would say and if I'm understanding correctly, I'm seeing that in others almost every moment. That sounds funny, but incremental gain in knowledge and skills, and the aha moments for those that either I'm mentoring or supporting or teaching just really some very early skills. Their excitement is happening so frequently because they are now gaining, and they're gaining momentum, and they're gaining skills very rapidly.
Okay, excellent. That's great. And Mark, I'm curious, anything to add?
Well, you know what's interesting, I agree with everything that's said, and for me, the big piece for me that I've had to sort of explore just with myself along the way has been that, sharing the passion. People get a sense of that early on, of how passionate you are about coaching. And it's bringing that clarity, bringing the, creating that succinctness to how it will, I guess their why, and demonstrating throughout the whole process of coach education piece is demonstrating throughout. And this is a lesson I've learned, and the power of it is your own vulnerability in sharing stories, in sharing examples, in coaching demonstrations, and being willing to sit in that place of being vulnerable and not having all the answers. That demonstration of that has shown itself through for me, both within the face-to-face facilitation of coach education, as well as in the virtual space with the coach education programs that I'm blessed to be able to do, internationally around the globe. So, that the pure speaking from the heart has to come through all the time. So I'll leave it at that. You got me going. You got me going.
No, it's okay, because this is really critical, and it really speaks. And thanks as well, Carol and Mark, for your comments, because this speaks to what I want to talk about here, and it's what happens when you become a coaching educator. And by the way, I also want to speak to a question that Georgia, and hello Georgia, nice to see you on the webinar. And great question. And Georgia's question is, does a coaching educator coach other coaches or the general public, or both? Well, great question. So I'll give my example. So when I got into coaching and it was exploding in this one particular coach training program, and this is way back, and they had just an avalanche of people signing up to take this coach program. I was training coaches. That's what happened. And so I was a trained coach myself, barely, but I was now training other coaches in coaching skills and all the qualities of a coach. But okay, and that was happening more so at that time. But what has happened since is that not only are there certainly a lot of people being trained as coaches, no question about it, and what has happened is more and more and more organizations and individuals, and that I'll go into more of that in the demand section, but are wanting to equip their employees, their leaders, their managers, their directors, et cetera, and as well as individuals with these skills. And I want to differentiate that they are not necessarily all going to become credential coaches. That's not realistic, but they're going to add coaching as part of the competencies that they have as a director, leader, manager, employee, et cetera, et cetera. And so there's a mix. And so most of the time now, in my case now, when we'll work with organizations and we will teach them to integrate coaching skills into their leading and managing. And then I shouldn't have said most of the time, part of the time. And then the other part of the time is we actually credential and develop coaches as well at Coaching Out of the Box. But here's, so it's kind of twofold. And what I think is a wonderful outcome when you become a coach, and especially for coaches who like variety, when you add the ability to develop coaching skills in leaders and managers, directors, employees, et cetera, it's just a wonderful addition to supporting others. But also, and this is the big win that I found, and you'll see it on this slide, is you dramatically, absolutely, profoundly and dramatically grow your coaching skills. It is second to coaching and getting feedback, on your coaching as well from time to time. Honest to goodness, this is huge, because what happens is you are in unknown territory. When you may have materials that you're delivering, and you've got skills and a model that you're teaching, et cetera, but you are in completely unknown territory as to how the participants are going to respond, the kind of questions that they're going to ask, what's going to happen either in the live classroom environment or the virtual classroom environment. And that will force you to really grow. And Mark spoke to the vulnerability piece, and Carol spoke to suddenly somebody will say this and all of a sudden something's ignited. You never know what's going to happen. And in the classroom, whether it's virtual or live. And that is one of the most powerful ways that I found that I deepened and dramatically grew my coaching skills was when I started to teach it. You're also going to find out what you're made of, really, because you never know what is going to come up in that classroom environment. And the other thing that is so critical when you're teaching coaching skills and you're being a coaching educator is you are constantly needing to model. This is not about lecturing at the front of the room or allowing for a few questions. The way that you are going to do a fabulous job of teaching coaching skills is to literally in the moment when you're delivering, if you're teaching a particular coaching model and teaching coaching skills, is literally in the moment be demonstrating coaching in front of the room. Somebody might ask a question or say, well, gee, how do I deal with this when I'm, I'm feeling really stressed? And what you have to do as a coaching educator more often than not is flip it back and start demonstrating coaching with that person, literally coaching them in the moment, and having the participants, the other participants, be able to watch, observe, grow, listen, and hear this. So this is why the rubber really meets the road, is you've got to take risks, and you've got to kind of step out of the comfort zone. And I think that I've seen, you're not coming, you have to come at this from an, not only as a trainer or an educator, but also being as a coach and interacting with the people in the room in a coach-like way, so that they can walk away with a deeper, they can walk away with the experience. And by the way, that will also profoundly raise your credibility as a coach and as a coaching educator, and also in terms of the credibility of coaching, because they see it in action. It's something that people, I've been having a lot of conversations about how do you educate people about coaching and different tools that you can use and so on. And I really feel, and it's not something that somebody can just read a book and learn. And I'm curious to know, Mark or Carol, if you have anything to add to that. Carol, go ahead.
Allison, just what touched me was really find out what you were made of and touching more people about coaching. What really hit home for me and what I'm experiencing, and so teaching coaching and mentor coaching is fairly new for me, but it is very rewarding. But what I notice is increasing confidence for myself, which turns into better facilitation and better ability to communicate and to coach. But really, and this is what Mark touched on, I believe, but it resonated for me. What is occurring, it really makes public, if you will, with your people, who you really are as a coach, your authenticity. And because you're sharing stories that, as Mark says, that vulnerability, so your whole person is coming forward. And I just think, wow, what a privilege. But my goodness, this does require some challenge and some thinking and some confidence.
You know what, Carol, that's fabulous, because it requires courage.
Yes, courage for sure. And this is like, I'm stepping in, I'm just talking personally here, stepping into more of who I am and what I can offer. Whether people receive or not is really where it goes, but it's so freeing, but it does take courage.
Yeah. And the other thing is, and here's the other thing is and Mark touched on it, that willing to be vulnerable and make mistakes. And goodness sakes, I could probably take the Academy Award for mistakes in front of the room and interacting with people. But that is and taking risks. Yes, actually, Carol and Mark too, you're taking risks. Because you don't know, you have no clue what is going to come out of that, how that person is going to react. Just like When you're having one-on-one coaching or you're doing team coaching, you don't know. And a really good coach has got to take risks, has got to be edgy, has got to be, challenging and so on. And you're managing, people's reactions to that. And that is also critical, I feel. Yeah, good. These are, I'm so happy you guys are here. This is great. As you make a difference in organizations, and I'm going to share a slide in a little bit. Hopefully it's here, and it's a little further on, but you're going to make a difference. You're going to make a difference for people's lives in those organizations. I can't tell you how many times when we have been out delivering this in a live environment or in a virtual environment, where people will come back, because sometimes it's over a period of days or a period of weeks, etc. And they will tell stories about conversations that they're having with their children, that they're having with their partners, that they're having with other people, some not even connected to work. Two, I will tell you, I will share briefly. One fellow, he was a guy in hip waders working in a sewage treatment plant, and he was in learning coaching skills. He came back the next day, and he did get into tears, and it was because he had a conversation with his teenage son. Any of you have teenagers, I think you might be able to relate, that his son hadn't even been speaking with him for about 2 years. Basically, he had a fabulous conversation with his teenage son, so meaningful, so powerful, because he went home that night and he started to use some of those skills that he'd learned. And then the second one, and it's just left my mind. It completely disappeared, and it was also very good. And when I remember it, I might share it. It left my brain. But it is that that is what makes it so wonderful to do this. Is those kind of stories that you'll hear. And I know that there's other stories that people can share all the time about what has happened as a result. Oh, I know what the other one was. It was a leader of a team. We were doing this over a 2-day period. He came back the next day and he said, "Oh my goodness." He said, we have been in a really bad way with this team he had. They weren't moving forward. Nothing was happening. There was a lot of conflict. He went back, because the class ended, I think, about 4 that day, so he was still going off to some sort of meeting with his team. Anyway, he went back and he said, we had a breakthrough. We broke through because I started to use the skills that I had learned that very day. And his team, that's fantastic to hear when you hear those kinds of things. So it really makes a difference to organizations. And I have a slide towards a little further along that I'll show you some of the things that can happen. And you can see it grows your passion for coaching. You can hear it in Mark and Carol, and also this ability to think on your feet as well. So that's what happens. And so what are the pathways? What are the different pathways? Oh, and I just wanted to stop for a second. I welcome your questions. So if there's any questions, please feel free to either post them in the chat or in the Q&A square thing, and we'll try to answer them as best as we can. So yeah, what are the different pathways? And this one's interesting, and I'm playing with it a bit. So I welcome any other, Carol and Mark's comments as well. But I kind of synthesized it down a bit. The different pathways as a coaching educator you are a solopreneur. You may be doing consulting, you may be doing one-on-one coaching or team coaching possibly, but you have your own business. And you add this in to your toolkit. In other words, you go in and you teach others in organizations, coaching skills, etc. So that's one pathway. Another pathway is that you are working in an organization and you have developed your skills as a coach, and you're then delivering this to other people in your organization. And by the way, in the guide that we're going to send, we actually have a little graph that shows it. I couldn't make a graph. I'm not as savvy on that on PowerPoint, but there's a graph, and it'll show you kind of the different ways that can work in a little bit more detail. And then the third one is that you literally are a coaching educator, meaning most of your time is now spent doing that. And I would say that for the most part, it's a mix of the solopreneur or the person within an organization. And I'm curious, and I'm not trying to put either Carol or Mark on the spot, but did I miss anything here? Is there anything you wanted to add about that in terms of the different, okay, I see one on here. Another pathway, already in a large consultancy. Absolutely. Yes, Ian. And hi, Ian. I recognize your name and great to have you here. Yes, you're already in a large consultancy, and you are offering, this is another offering that you have as part of what the consultancy provides. So, and I guess you're right, that kind of actually fits with the you're in an organization, but I think I'm going to add that. That's a great one. Thank you. Large consultancy. Anybody else? And that could be Mark or Carol. In terms of the different, Ian added your thought. Fabulous. I missed that. Good. Wasn't clear about that. Excellent. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, so now I'm going to move into the demand, because here's if you want to become a coaching educator and you're wanting it to add it to you're an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, you're wanting to bring it into an organization, you're wanting to add it to the consultancy, etc. What is the demand for this? Here's another one. Oh, this is lovely. I just see another comment. I work with First Nations and have trained staff that struggle to see what's possible for them in the future. I'm working on facilitating their ability to see the why, work hard, and the pride in striving to be the best. That's lovely. I love that. So let's talk a little bit more about the demand. Well, I've got a couple of, this one I love. And this, and remember, I got into this 21 years ago, or almost 21 years ago, and have watched what's happened. And the demand, it's becoming, I can't tell you how many people I speak to on a really regular, consistent basis who are recognizing that if they don't add this in, and in other words, adding it to their resume makes a big difference for them in terms of getting achieving another job, another maybe a promotion, that kind of thing. This is, we are getting that more and more and more in the field of coaching, and I'm also curious. That's okay. So that's one piece of it, is that it's becoming. It's just becoming so much more of what people need in their work and their lives, and this in turn is being impacted by organizations who are looking for people that are using this. And the other reason, the change. This has, what we are experiencing, monumental, profound change in our lives, in our culture, in how we work. all the technological changes, and this coaching is what supports people in adapting to change, because we need all hands on deck. And the skills of coaching are what organizations are recognizing, and institutions, et cetera, et cetera. We have even people who are prisoners right now learning coaching skills, and that is amazing to me. And that the prison is actually investing in some of those prisoners in learning coaching skills. Certainly it's being widely used in a number of healthcare environments. And why is that? What is it that's causing this demand? Because the demand is, in my opinion, growing as well for more and more people to develop and learn these skills. So I'm just going to stop for a second, and I'm just going to check in with Mark and Carol and see if they had anything that they wanted to add to this. What are you seeing, Mark or Carol, in terms of the demand for coaching skills? Go ahead.
Hi, Allison. Yeah, no, I think there's, like, demand for skills, and it's that, I think, culturally, coaching skills are really making a difference in terms of the world of business around, the understanding of intercultural, that dexterity of working with different cultures, because we are globally connected. And the language of coaching and getting back to the humanness of being able to have conversations and coming from a different place, that's the change. It's leaning into the skills of coaching from a listening point of view versus telling, entering into different cultures, telling them how they should do things is the old way. And it's being more aware and bringing a different lens, bringing an appreciation for connecting as people through the power of conversations. And the coach approach really has that power, and that is, those that are embracing that are definitely creating a shift, and those that are not are starting to get left behind. So it is truly a powerful piece, and it's just change is that constant. There's no question about it. So it's that comfort in there. Coaching does have that power to do that.
Absolutely. And it just reminded me too of the trickle down impact once coaching is embraced by institutions, organizations, et cetera, et cetera. And we had an experience where a large healthcare system started to support their directors, their managers, et cetera, in learning coaching. And what happened was that all of a sudden, because people started to notice this, they were getting waiting lists of people who wanted to take our program in particular. But the other thing that happened was it had these enormous unintended trickle-down impacts that in their wildest dreams they never imagined. And what happened was, remember, they started with leaders and managers and directors, and what has happened, and it keeps growing, the trickle-down. Physicians, child life specialists. We've got one hospital who was dealing with children who had been profoundly injured in accidents, etc. And they were working with them in the hospital, and then the children would go home. And the integration with the families was very, very difficult, because what was happening was the parents were expecting, in a way, the child that they had before coming back. and they were having to adapt. And what happened was this particular hospital and a group of the workers in the hospital started to work and support the families in developing coaching skills. And it certainly isn't a panacea, but it certainly has helped in that. Well, they never in their wildest dreams would have imagined it would have gone there. They're using it, it's being used with people who are struggling with diabetes, because a coach approach really can work well to support them in the lifestyle changes and the diets that they have to follow, and et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not a diabetes expert at all, but this impact that starts to happen that you can't even imagine is pretty amazing. And so I think that, I'm speaking to the demand. And here's another one I wanted to share. Hopefully it comes now. Why is that? Okay, this thing is, it's one of those kind of slides. I was hoping it would all be there. It's funny, that slide always surprises me. This one, because of what happens, and we're sharing that, and you're hearing some of that it's the observable, but when you start to use the coaching skills, you get below the waterline and you start to really get into what's driving that person, what's really going on, things that maybe they didn't even know. Oh, and I'm looking here and I'm seeing oh yes, thanks Mark for mentioning that. Yeah, the Canadian Mental Health Association in one community in Ontario is now bringing coaching to all their employees. They have 100 employees in this one particular branch of the Canadian Mental Health Association, and they're bringing it to all their employees because they recognize that their employees can be equipped to be more coach-like and have coaching kinds of conversations with the people in the community that they work with. So it's just so exciting to see that. And like I told you, prisons, healthcare, Canadian mental health, I'm just using those as a few examples. And I'm seeing another one. I work with scientists from Janice. Thank you, Janice. Often move into manager. Yes. Thank you. This is another reason. They come up clinically. They come up with certain skills like scientists and engineers, and they just, as Janice is saying, they struggle with those skills. And I see bringing it to mining. Yes, miners need these coaching skills, but that's the truth. So many people in some organizations have these fabulous technical skills, these other kinds of skills, and then all of a sudden they've been thrown into a leadership role, and that's happening quite significantly. And so that's another reason why there's a demand. And here's the here's another one of these. I don't know why it didn't do that. Anyway, sorry, I'm going to go back, because aside from the fact that this slide didn't seem to show all the qualitative results, but here's another thing, and I want you to think about this. And I apologize that it's not showing up on this. No, I was just going to click it, and unfortunately it just doesn't want to do it. But anyway, we presented some findings that a large healthcare system had hired an external consultant to analyze what was happening as a result of them learning these coaching skills and learning to be more coach-like in their interactions and so on. And we got the findings, and then we applied to the Harvard Medical School Institute of Coaching and McLean Hospital down in Boston to present these findings. So here's the thing, is what if, and we had 7 key there was more, but we had 7 key qualitative findings, and this is what came out. Now just think about this, and that's why the demand is growing. What if in an organization, in an institution, in a healthcare environment, in a mining setting, et cetera, in a mental health organization. What if you had improved listening, improved communication, improved ability to give feedback, improved conflict resolution, positively impacted relationships, improvement in team dynamics and team communication, and finally, number 7, this one when I share it, people go bingo as well. All the other ones are great too, but this one, improved ability to engage, in this case, staff, in conversations that are solutions focused and promote accountability. That's why the demand is growing. Those were the 7 key qualitative results. Now, they were working with us, and there was, they've now had over 5,000 plus people, and this was external. This wasn't me going in and going, oh yes, this was an external organization that did the analysis. So that's why the demand, that's why I'm passionate about the demand. And so, and I'm also having to watch my time, right? Okay, questions. Anybody have any questions? I'm just watching, and I've got more things to say because I'm gonna just mention a couple other things too. But bye, Margaret, thanks for coming. And I'll keep my eyes open if the questions come up. But what is next? What is next? Well, for many of you, you came to this class, this webinar because you were curious. So think about what is going to be your smart way. If you want to become a coaching educator and add that into your consultancy, into the work you do in an organization as a solopreneur, etc., what is going to be your smart way? So you need to think about what are going to be your strategies in doing that. And thanks, Keith. I understand. Also, if you want to become a coaching educator, certainly you can come to us and find out a couple of things. If you're not already a coach, find out about our fast track to ICF credential. And also, for those who are already coaches, find out about our Train the Trainer. Go to our website. We have information there. And also contact me. This is one of the favorite things I love to do in the world, is talk to people about coaching. As maybe it's kind of obvious. I don't know. But that to me is really important. And I'm also watching my time here. I think we've still got a couple of minutes. So I'm curious, is there, oh, I see Peter's making a comment, learning to be better and becoming this course could be. Peter, let's connect. I'm happy to speak with you, and let's talk about it and see if this might be something right for you, or maybe I can suggest something else. I don't know. Got to find out more, but would be delighted to connect with you. And I'm curious, Mark or Carol, is there anything, and I'm just going to put this one because this is our passion here at Coaching Out of the Box. That's what we're really committed to. So I'm just curious, Mark or Carol, is there anything else that you wanted to add or say?
I would only say that, and I'm going to say this just because I know Allison will probably kick me anyway, so it's okay because we've known each other since 2004. I'm just going to say this in terms around where the coach approach and where these coaching, and as an educator, you're only limited by the opportunities that you don't see. And I would have conversations, and I think a great example was, for me, an awakening was, who thought that we would be, that Bell Canada would align with and invest in mental health and bring a coach approach to mental health care workers to support them in the work and shift their conversations with clients dealing with mental health issues. There are no boundaries to where this might work. And as an educator, I used it in a classroom when I taught with moderate and severe behavior kids, and it shifted the entire classroom. It works. As an educator, I haven't found a setting yet. Allison, as a coach educator.
Coaching educator.
There you go. As a coach educator, I haven't found a setting yet that doesn't work and doesn't support a more coach approach to our communication. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay, great. And I noticed that we've run out of time, and I want to make sure I end on time, and I see it's right at the top of the hour. So thank you so much for your attendance to this. Please know you can reach out to us. We're happy to talk. And thank you, Mark and Carol, so much for jumping in, spur of the moment, and providing your contributions, as well as those who were in the chat area and asking questions. I really appreciate it, and best wishes for the rest of everybody's day. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.